If you could do attendance, please.
Bailey?
Yep.
Brower?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Jeremy? Courtney?
Here.
Wayne?
I am that I am.
And Jeremy was absent with the others.
So nice.
And we have a visitor, Judy. Judy, I forgot your last name, Judy.
What's your last name?
KW.
I was just gonna ask you.
KWASNIK.
Right, that's it.
Thank you.
I typed it a few times, so it's there.
Well, welcome. Thank you. Good to see you again. All right. We have the recitation of our mission, which is the Ortonville DDA is dedicated to promoting economic revitalization, supporting local businesses, and preserving the natural and historic heritage of the village of Ortonville by using the 4-point Main Street approach. So everyone can take a peek at your consent agenda packet.
I do have a modification to the
Okay.
agenda. Under business C, project briefs, B and C, retail challenge and public art, I do not have those
Okay.
for the board to look at today.
Okay.
So just A.
Yes.
Move that we accept the consent agenda and accept the agenda as amended. Second.
All right, excellent. And then let's look at,
We vote.
oh, yes, we do, sorry. I'm always in a hurry.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So then let's look at our disbursements.
I think we need to approve our minutes. Or did we approve that?
As part of the consent, yep. Is 53 South Street Utility the other sign, gateway sign that we have?
No, it is, that's the fire station address.
Oh,
We
okay.
have an outlet there that's been used for weekends.
That's the outlets on Pond Street behind the fire
Correct.
hall?
To the best of my digging.
So we pay whether or not we're using the outlet. I mean, even though the meters, because we pull that meter right out of there when there's no events.
No meter. It's live all the time.
Live 24/7,
Yeah.
365.
Yep. I understand maybe there used to be a meter, but when we were having Witches Night Out, that's when I dug into this and actually had the utility company out. I asked them to come out and put in the meter for the event, and the guy called me back and said, "You don't need a need a
It's already
meter."
there. It's a smart meter.
Yeah.
Smarter than we are.
Yeah.
So item 10, the flowers, now that's payable to the village, or is that payable to Wojo's?
Liz can correct me if I'm wrong, but the DPW makes arrangements through Wojo's for the
Right.
flowers. Village pays the bill and we reimburse.
Well, the claimant is the village, well, okay. So is that 100% of that bill, Wojo's, or are we splitting it with the village, do you know, Liz?
The flowers is DDA 100% as far as I'm
Okay.
aware.
So we talked in the past about moving to, instead of annuals, having more perennials. Just to kind of throw that out there again, that,
Good idea.
They always come back.
yeah. And I don't know, I mean, we could certainly purchase them from Wojo's. we were spending that amount each year, before we know it, we'd have a beautiful downtown that would just, and we could do where they're always, you can stage them so that every week you have something in bloom.
Right.
I don't know how perennials survive long-term and above ground.
Are these in the
Baskets
pots?
or Pots or whatever.
It's just the pot?
Most of these
Most of them are.
flowers,
Okay.
most of these flowers are the in-ground at
Oh, at the
the
corners?
Corners?
Yeah. And
Okay.
where else are they? Do they do things around the welcome sign at Mill and M15?
What about out on M15 South of Brandon Tire?
That's
our sign. So I'm told.
the Chamber of Commerce used to
Right.
maintenance that, and it was kind of thrown in our lap
Right.
last year. So this year we did reimburse the village for maintenance on those as well. The mulch and whatever else the guys did.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah,
look
that's
into
I was just
actually-
gonna say, if we could get one of the, committees or something to kind of take a look at that and
Yeah.
see and work with them. And they, I'm sure Wojo's would even help us as far as making sure that we are building a long-term,
Mhm.
all-season garden there.
Those signs you're talking about, Wayne, are actually recorded in check number 3. M15 Ortonville sign landscaping. Now the chamber did, in the past, they would bill the organizations whose logos are attached to those signs,
Right.
$25 a year. The DDA has not done that yet. If we choose to move in that direction, it is an option.
And then the Portageon, Crossman Park Portageon, is that for the entire summer?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd just like to say that I really like how many downtown dollars we received back. Is that all from Eats in the Streets?
No. In fact, I would say the majority of these are for 2 events. One, it's the Little Thing grand opening and the M15 garage sale.
Even better.
Those were, those
There's a
downtown,
lot there.
those downtown dollars were good through the end of May. So then they turned them in and we reimbursed.
That's outstanding.
It really is.
I move that we pay our bills in the amount of $7,093.98.
Support.
Bailey,
Yes.
Brower,
Yes.
Pratt, Jason,
Yes.
sorry, Courtney,
Yes.
Wayne.
Yes.
And that brings us to business to come before the board. We have 2 revitalization grant requests.
You have the applications in front of you. First impressions. This started last fall when Marie asked for some design assistance that she received through Oakland County for a sign. It's actually replacing a sign that was damaged when she had to replace her well. She's gone in a different direction than what the design assistance was for, but she did MRJ sign, which is off of Marin. She would like to go with them and their design.
That's the upper right of the back side of the page right here.
Correct.
The one that says hair and nails in bold.
Yep.
So I know one of the things that we talked about during one of our collaborative meetings was having more traditional looking signs.
There's already a sign ordinance in place
Is there?
for all of the downtown.
Or does meet that? Because I think we need to definitely send
we need
this
have
to,
the planning commission look at it and make sure that it meets all the sign ordinances.
I
They
agree.
have, the Gateway District has a sign ordinance separate from the downtown district, separate from,
okay.
so we certainly need to make sure that it meets those ordinances before we.
Let me ask this as far as process goes. Certainly, and we have talked about taking this away from the boards as far as the first look goes and having the design committee come up with a process to evaluate these and then bring their recommendation to the board for approval. And certainly I do see the planning commission involved in that process. But if they were to put a sign in, they have to come to the village to get a permit to do it anyways.
There is administrative approval,
Right.
so Mr. Dinnan would have to approve it. If he does not see fit to approve, they would have to come before the planning commission for variance.
Right.
Yep, it's pretty
That
much,
is that process.
pretty much relegated to size of the sign. I don't know that it's,
In
There are
lumens,
design
I remember
elements.
well, the size and number of lumens, yeah. If it's an active,
There's that as well, but there are design elements as well in the planning commission or design ordinances.
I think we should just approve it contingent on,
Approval
I mean,
from,
because the MRJ knows our rules, though.
yeah.
which we did for Impact North, saying that, you know,
Yeah.
we wanted the ornamental arm, we wanted the color, and it had to meet the village ordinance expectations.
Well, that's the only thing that, because as I looked through this packet and the design assistant, so the last couple of pages, I thought were more in keeping with kind of the flavor, or I guess the design approach that we're taking to have that consistency.
What do you mean by the last few pages?
So the last page is where
So
the
it's,
sign,
the
yeah,
ones from,
I mean, she's just doing the sign, but I mean, this was the whole design that
He
Oakland
did.
County did.
yeah, he did give her some ideas
Awning
on
and railing colors.
Yes.
I thought they did a really nice job too,
They did.
with, you know, tying in the colors. I mean, this is black and white, but it had the colors tied in, including suggestions for plantings that would match, that kind of thing. But it just, I mean, this to me is much more appealing than this.
Like,
That looks more commercial, just kind of run of the mill, you know, whatever. But
She's probably looking at the graphics as opposed to the structure. That'd be my guess.
Well, yeah, and she did indicate to me she likes the opportunity to change the message at the bottom of the,
Which you could
that is
still,
not lit, correct?
Correct.
but you could still probably add. I mean, if you go with the structure,
yeah, something like
you
this.
can add something.
Isn't that one for Nairn Street and this one for out in front of M15?
no, the one on the back page was the original design suggested by Oakland County.
Oh,
And then she went to,
it'd be hard to make a big sign though that way, they just adjust.
I understand, I just wonder if we can have something that's kind of a little more in keeping with that, I don't know, the right word, flavor, or,
Well, if they increase the height of the poles, they can add the trim piece.
Make it longer.
Yeah. The trim piece that they have on the back.
Well,
I mean-
this doesn't really tell me anything as a consumer.
Right.
Doesn't say who you are,
Agreed.
what you are.
agreed.
Or how do we-
And
how to
I'm
reach
not
you.
suggesting that it's just this, I'm saying from a design perspective that I liked this is more,
The hanging sign look rather than the,
I mean, this is just cold commercial to me.
what do they call that?
And the other one, it could still be, like Dick was saying, or
Sign.
whoever,
Yeah.
taller and adding some kind of.
Just take that post and use that to help hold it.
Yeah, something like, as simple as that, you know, one of these on each side, and then you have the big sign.
Yeah, because the sign's 6'8" wide.
So yeah, if you brought the
That is
posts
just
up,
what the type of post she has on the building.
and then had the
Just
arch
bring the
things,
post up 10 inches, 12 inches.
you know, kind of, whatever.
I
Is
think
that
if you
something
combine
that
those two, it'd be a good fit. If you combine the,
Yeah, I agree.
Actually, he's got the,
I would have two posts like that higher.
he's got the code information.
Yeah, I saw that in
MRJ
there.
has the code information here.
Is that something that planning
M15 corridor
commission
commercial,
would-
well, that's not really M15 corridor commercial. That entire property borders on Mill Street and there, and they're not on M15.
Yeah,
But that's how it's zoned.
really.
Which
The
abut,
sign is not up here anymore.
for properties which abut thoroughfares, having speed limits of 35 or less, okay, that would work.
Right, because
20 square feet.
the sign size is dependent on the
Right,
miles
right.
per hour.
Sure.
You know, your downtown is 25 miles an hour versus M15. So your sign sizes and stuff like that are different for visual purposes.
So it fits the size, the 20
So
square
could we
foot.
suggest to her that we approve it, but with,
I don't know.
What's the basis? My
just trying to
my-
keep it more
Well,
of that,
And I know the spirit of the discussion, I get that. What concrete basis are we saying? Because if we're going to apply, I would rather have something in place, something concrete in place to say this is, to point at it, and we could have our own, because these are DDA resources. And so we can have some standards attached to that.
okay.
But to make a decision on this sign that,
It's just
using something that
loose,
could be
sure.
perceived as different from Impact North sign 6 weeks ago, I'm a
But
little
we went with the
uncomfortable
more
with that.
traditional with Impact North too, right?
So we just,
When we get into a bigger sign like this, to make it more traditional, it's gonna cost more money. So if we're gonna pony up more money, then I think that's fair, but if we're not, I think that's a lot to ask of to make it.
and I think we need to be careful too, because it's not really our jurisdiction to tell them what their sign can and cannot look like per se. Especially
With our money, it can.
With our money, right, if we're paying for a portion of it, but they still have to meet
Absolutely,
the
oh,
design
absolutely.
ordinances of the planning, you know, the
Agreed,
planning commission
agreed.
has in place. So we have to be, we gotta be careful with that. You know, you need to,
so Matt, you're just talking about having a policy for the signs that we contribute money toward.
Yes. You know, and it can, number one, it should be consistent with existing village expectations. But then can go a little further with design standards or the design hopes of this
Sure.
group. I don't like creating it as we go. That's
We could ask them to get a couple more beds, in different designs. Like we're doing a sign right now, and we have like 5 to
Well, I
7
think we're
different-
supposed to have them
They're supposed to have two.
two quotes, right?
And she does.
she got to.
Did she? Okay.
Yeah, she does.
Well, how about a couple designs though, too?
Oh, that's right, because the other one was,
I think we're still coming back on what Matt's saying.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Kind of fishing in the dark for that, on their perspective.
I agree with that 100%, but she's, you know, it's gonna be a nice sign. If it fits the ordinances, then we gotta, you know.
See, what you're looking at is an older sign that's got a little schematic of the house or a profile of the
Right.
house, and it's thinner, it's thinner font.
Right.
finer font, it looks more quaint. This one does look
A little more commercial.
a little more commercial.
I did notice that he tried to use some of the old font.
Yeah, you use some of that in first impressions, but that's basically what you're seeing is hair and nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either, but.
So Matt, are you wanting to hold off approving anything that would not be the same as what we've done in the past until we get a policy, or
No.
would we approve?
I disagree. I would say we need to approve it contingent upon compliance with all of our existing ordinances, rules and regs,
Yeah,
as opposed to,
So
And-
should this
and
go
develop
to
policy
the
as
planning
well.
commission
I
as well?
encourage
this
us-
The sign
proposal?
company
Bring
takes
that
care
up.
of all that. They-
I understand, but I'm just saying, if we wanted to, and so, I don't know, this may be misplaced, but my thought is that if we really want to partner and support our planning commission, would we not want to send this proposal to them as well?
We would say approved contingent upon approval from the building department.
yeah, the building department would be the primary go-to.
They'd
Not
have
the
to,
actual
they'd have to go to
commission.
Bill, Bill would have to use his best sorry, Mr. Dunn. He would have to use his best judgment to say, yes, this meets, and Bill's got 30 years
Sure,
experience.
sure.
To say, yes, this meets design standards, no, this doesn't meet design standards, you need to go see the planning commission. And then at that point, he would update the planning commission that
And say,
this is what's happening, and
And if there was a need to do something other than what Bill approved or what was on the books as an ordinance, then they could always apply for a variance. Then they would go in front of the commission
okay,
procedurally.
okay.
and we're just talking about as we ramp up handling these things and improving our process, I should say improving, making our process more thorough. We want the planning commission to be engaged in that process.
Through the design committee.
correct me
Yes.
if I'm wrong, but what you're suggesting is having a subcommittee that when these come in, we take a look at them, then we bring it to us as a board before.
With the
With
recommendation.
the recommendation. So at that point, the design committee, based on me and say a planning commission member, whatever, would say, yes, this meets design standards, no, this doesn't meet design
Exactly.
standards, both theirs and ours.
Right.
But if you guys want to stay
So-
consistent,
For now, we don't have that in place.
Correct.
So,
when we were doing our canopies, when we asked for money, we had to supply you guys with 3 designs. So we could ask them to do a couple more designs if we don't like it.
Well, we
Because
only
I can-
asked for 2, but
well, we
I,
asked for 2 quotes.
right,
Yeah,
Not
that's not a
designs.
design in the back.
Oh, I see
that's
what you're
just some-
saying.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
I don't know why you were asked for that.
that was.
Is there-
Before you were.
Is there anything that says we can't ask them to soften it?
Well,
That's why I was
even-
saying we could even do the brackets.
The corner building, the Diabetes camp, they had 3 different designs.
Well, I
We
think,
picked the design, didn't, right?
and
That
color
was
scheme.
material and color.
Yeah.
I think
Wasn't
though,
I mean, we-
the sign, but
your
it was
base-
the actual
the basic-
facade.
Yeah, but I mean, we're,
design of the sign, I've been off the planning commission for too long now, but I think it basically fits with their design standards. I think probably yours and some of the discussion here is just that it's just a little harsh. The font, that kind of stuff, it's just really kind of hit, and I think you're maybe asking for it to be softened up a little bit.
Actually, this is coming out of the discussion so I'm probably being misplaced with this, but it was just when we had one of the collaborative meetings that we had and we talked about going with more traditional signage. That's not our current standard, but that was part of the discussion. So being aware of that, because that generated a lot of excitement. As the group, the entire group talked about, or groups talked about that. So it's just being cognizant of that, and not that it's a bad sign. I'm not entirely opposed to it. I just feel like it's not necessarily moving in that direction, and not that we've chosen yet. I mean, we all talked about it, we were excited about it,
Yeah.
but we didn't say, yes, going forward, this is what's gonna
And I think
happen.
that's what Matt's talking about.
Right,
just make sure
I'm
we
just
have
throwing
that.
it back out there again because it is fair investment for them and us. And do we wanna do that and then in 6 months or a year, we modify our ordinance or whatever, and now we have a sign that's a fairly good sized sign. It's not unattractive, it just isn't really,
I actually agree with you, Alice, and I think that we should say if we're gonna approve money, then we'd like to see some more designs, something maybe a little bit more.
a little more
Even from the
traditional.
same, maybe even from just the same company, I don't see any problem with
Sure,
just
sure.
asking that company to say, hey, can you soften it up a little bit, can you throw in,
Yeah, make it look a little more charming or
This,
plain
I
or
mean, this looks
traditional.
like you're driving through Cancun.
It's, yeah, this could be anywhere, and part of
This
what we're
is
trying to
Hills.
do is, yeah, we're trying to make ourselves a little more distinct, right?
maybe they can take that hair and nails, shrink that a little bit, make the first impressions a little larger.
Just tell them what our goal is and have
Soften it
them,
up a little bit.
they're the artists.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, and give it
What's
more
the
of a
colors
traditional
on
feel.
this?
They were kind of a red and gold, well, it tells you sage, the sage is a real pale, yeah. And then Cajun red's kind of like a,
Well, that's on that, but that's not on this sign.
oh, on the sign, I don't remember the sign, I think, gosh, I looked at it, I don't remember what colors were on the
I
sign.
don't remember, I looked at it online and
Yeah,
Says exact colors to be determined.
to Jason's point, we actually dictated the color signage.
well, that's what
Awning
we've
and
been
everything.
doing, is we've been trying to keep within that color scheme for downtown that's with more of that traditional, you know, whatever, preserving, I mean, that's part of what we're supposed to do,
Thank you.
right?
They could
It's
even make
great.
this look, more traditional, just with the same thing, but change the posts and,
That's
a little
exactly
bit-
it,
I mean,
I think,
I think,
but maybe they can do a little bit better too, though, with all the,
Can we refer this to design, or not to tell you,
no, I'm fine with that,
I think that's a great suggestion
I
to,
agree,
and bring back a recommendation.
I have a
Yeah.
great relationship with the planning commission, so it's not like any hardship for me to
Yeah.
Okay with that?
pull in,
yeah,
pull in
yeah.
one
I
of the
just think
planning
it's less
commission members and see what they, if
Right, less
if that is
discussion for
something
us
they
too,
would
right?
approve.
Okay, but my recommendation is then this group come up with some general expectations in terms of signage for this group to review, because we'll just be right back here looking at it again, and we'll still be talking about this spirit of something more quaint and traditional.
What do you mean
What
by
does that
softening?
mean? What does
Yeah.
that
Right,
mean?
right, I get it, and that's why I said, I understand,
I know
I'm
what
kind of
you
throwing a
mean.
wrench in.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I meant by referring this, specifically this, but also come up with something that we can say this is a standard.
Well, as part of our guidelines, our revitalization grant guidelines, like using one of the color schemes provided by the Oakland County Design Assistants, or using, I don't know, elements of, or
so
something,
you suggesting that we approve of them?
that we put into
No,
design.
I would say both, and that we would say design, can you take care of this, as well as come up with something that would long-term fix, so that we're not continually doing this in the future.
And
you
I'm
wanna
happy to
bring-
work with you.
You wanna bring us back to,
Does somebody have a
The
relationship
next
with First
meeting,
Impression
or-
Owner?
well.
Just through this
kind of.
process.
I mean,
My-
it's
my
a
mom
simple
babysat
simple
for
stopping in
always.
and saying, hey, we want to approve a sign for you. It's just that we would like to see it a little bit more historic. So we're gonna, could you go to MRJ and have them give us 3 more designs?
Yeah.
Or can we?
We're
it could be
gonna
that
pony up 1,000, and we've done this with all the other businesses.
Right.
We've asked them to do
1,500, yeah.
1,500.
Isn't
But
that
we've asked all the
right?
other businesses to give us options, so we'd like to see some options.
Well, let's have our director do that then.
Or we can
design
we go to MRJ ourselves?
We could even go to MRJ ourselves,
Right.
Yeah.
but we should start off with her and let her know that we want it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
you know.
So, do you guys want me just to move forward with getting a committee together as discussed and come up with some sort of standards and have you guys look at them? Or do you wanna send me the ideas, or
I'll
I'm
be
good
happy
with
to
whatever I
work with
can
you.
come up with?
Yeah, I would
At least
say
as
to
a
come up
draft.
with, come up with something that way we
And then we
can
can
start the
discuss
conversation.
there.
Why don't we, even if
Yeah.
we did a video
Is that-
conference call
Is that good?
outside of this, and, because I think
Sound
with
good?
you having as much property down here
Mhm.
too, it would be good to have your feedback on that.
I just like, I like what you guys are, I trust you guys, you guys are, I mean,
Okay.
this,
Well, and we'll obviously bring it back for you guys to,
Mhm.
any standards or anything like that, for you guys to, the board to
Okay,
look at.
yep. So we'll include Rick in that too.
Good for that?
There's
They got
two
yeah,
things
you're-
happening.
Yes.
Two things
One
happening
is making the process more thorough
Correct.
based on some of the desires, visual desires of this group. And the second is following up with Marie on her application.
Right. Because hers is the actual business item, and then we're just trying to figure out how to fix the long term.
Right.
Right.
So you got two, short and long term.
And that's what Courtney was saying, is she could talk to MRJ.
I
Well,
think
we'll
St.
go
Pat was
through
going to.
Marie first.
Of course, but I mean, we could let them know too that this is what we're,
And quite frankly, just so everybody knows, she can do what she wants.
Yeah.
It's just
yes.
If she wants
wants
money,
out.
if she wants money, this is what we're gonna do.
because based on what we have in front of us, it appears to us that it meets the village
It's just current standards.
expectation.
Agreed.
it's just that we just say that we're just recommend, you know, we would like to see, we would like to see it more a little bit this way.
And we want to invest. I'm not saying I don't want to spend the money. I
I mean,
absolutely
this
do
side,
want
this
to
side's
help.
nicer than that one, but if we could just have a couple options to pick from, if we're gonna be, you know, paying half of it. Because we've done that in the past, we've had, but we've approved everybody else's, you know, looked at three
Contingent
or
of
four
color
options.
schemes or
looked at-
designs, yeah. Okay. All right. So do we need any kind of motion or anything for that, or just, okay,
I don't think there's anything to,
okay. And should we look at the second proposal for,
It's the little
Little
things.
things.
They are simply, what they are doing is they would like to do is replace the glass in the front door
So just
with just plain
sheet
glass. They're replacing the hardware on the door and painting.
Putting a storm door on.
Oh, and putting the storm door, yes.
does that door really still say VLB?
Mhm.
I did not even notice that.
and you said painting?
Yeah, painting the,
So they're getting another wood door, or they're getting a metal door?
they are using the existing door.
Cool.
They are just replacing the glass.
I think they had a hard time finding someone to replace the whole door. Best I heard, that's what they were looking for, so my guess is they had a hard time finding somebody to do the whole door.
I don't know, because I haven't talked to Lisa, but I'm guessing it's because the door would be really expensive.
Yeah.
I think she only could find, last I talked to her, she only could find one quote. But if this is the way that she wants to go and makes her happy, then
Yeah, I'm fine.
If the guts of the door are fine to wood,
right.
Yep.
then there's no problem.
And as long as the job's done well,
Mhm.
then the door should be fine.
Yeah, it's all prepping the bottom, but peeling the doors of the door.
Okay. And sandstone color, I don't have an issue with that.
Just soft, neutral.
Yep. So can we entertain a
We need to move on
motion?
that? We need to move on that?
Yeah.
And the so the 878 plus 38.
No,
that is the total.
That includes
That is the
the
total.
$38.
Okay.
So we have two different quotes, right? One's for
878.
840.
She starred
40
the
and one's.
one she preferred.
Okay, good.
That's what that is up here.
Yeah.
Okay, I move that we
Local
accept-
Well, they're both local companies.
I move that we accept the proposal for the revitalization grant from Lisa Painter in the amount of $878.
Isn't that kind of,
You shouldn't be voting.
I know that's.
Well, just so that we can talk on all
think I was saying that.
the support, so we can have
And you can
discussion.
say so. You can publicly say
motion.
so.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love to not vote for my buildings.
Right.
Unless it, really, yeah.
No, you're,
they're-
you're fine, that's,
We have
That's
to,
appropriate.
Yeah, good.
He has to ask the board's approval to abstain from the vote. We have to vote on that.
Thanks, Matt, I
And
appreciate
then-
that.
mhm.
Okay,
Then we can vote on the,
Should you want
Okay.
to withdraw your motion?
I think that's
We withdraw a
proper.
motion then?
No,
okay, we can do that.
Okay.
Sweet.
Do you guys wanna vote, like, in the future on our buildings, like, over email without us in it?
Can't do, I don't think we can do
No,
that.
we can do it in here, but, so if that is correct protocol,
I
then,
believe that.
so for you to ask for permission to abstain from the vote, and then we will vote on that?
I don't know if we've ever had to vote on
You don't have to
You don't
vote on it,
vote on
as
it.
long as there's consistency among
Okay.
as long as you accept his,
Okay.
Right.
At the township, they ask for permission to abstain from the vote,
It's
then
not-
we'll vote on that.
yeah,
and then-
it's
Okay.
not inappropriate to do it either way, but you don't, it's not
Okay.
required as
So we
long as.
accept.
We accept.
We accept.
All right. Any further discussion on the proposal?
Are
do we
we
have a number?
878, I believe
Yeah,
is
that
what
was-
we said?
That was the,
Are we doing the full
That's what I
amount?
said.
Okay.
I agree.
all right, so you second it?
Yes, well, I think Matt supported it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
All right, so then just a roll call.
Brower,
Yes?
McLaren,
Yes.
Wills,
Yes.
Bailey.
yes.
Excellent.
I've got two of these. Had a dentist appointment.
Okay,
Oh, boy.
that's fun.
Yeah, I figure I'll be, stop drooling about 11 o'clock.
Oh, I hate those.
I just started drooling, so.
Every time they work on my teeth hurt more.
Yeah.
All right, so the next item is 2018 accreditation benchmarks.
You know,
All right.
Talk to you later.
So the,
Yeah, I didn't. They copied front and back, so please bear with
that's
the
good.
way it was copied.
Actually, it's more efficient.
So they oh, go ahead. Want me to do it, or?
I was just going to set it up as.
Yeah, yeah.
We had talked about this previously. We briefly looked at the new evaluation criteria for national accreditation that we are currently under for 2018. Our review will be at the end of January 2019. And the organization committee was talking about how do we continue to have this, these expectations in front of us throughout the year. So we're not dealing with it at the end of the year, so we're addressing it as we move forward. And Matt had offered to take on the task of trying to break it up into smaller bites that we can manage a little better. So with that,
Yeah, essentially, I just went through their assessment that they gave us, and all the things that are, all the things that were no, are in red, so it's kind of high priority stuff. Because we get approved based on the numbers 1, 2, 3, and, you know, the D, E, and F, A, B, C, D, and E, and F are items within those headings. And I believe that's how we get approved, is that the headings themselves need to have a majority. So if we can
Actually, moving forward, it is simply 7 points minimum per
Okay.
category. There's 10 points per category
I
moving
see.
forward.
Okay. So, I think if we can kind of look down and have committees pick up, a chunk that would pertain to them to be able to oversee throughout the year and then report on those progresses. I just know for me, it's helpful to have broken down into chunks as opposed to just a general concept that we want to pass. And I think there was a lot of stuff that just by the categories would kind of define what committee would take those up. At least as I walked through it, it kind of seemed.
Committee indicators, it says it's not enough active members to be effective, or is that including our DDA board too?
Yes.
So we don't have enough people on the DDA board?
Well, half of our seats filled,
Yeah.
not a good indicator.
Yeah,
12
up to 12 is
is
our
the-
number. That's where we'd like to get. So we do still need to recruit.
9's the minimum. That includes the village council president.
The principal shopping district special assessment, what's that?
TIF, a different TIF structure, so it would be additional TIF revenue.
Like our Down Street Dollar program kind of?
No, our tax increment financing
Oh,
that we get.
okay.
We can get more.
I'm not 100% sure how a
Assessment, yeah.
PSD would work within a DDA boundary. I don't know that,
Okay.
so I can't answer that question.
It'd be awesome if we got more.
So we need further clarification from the county, what their expectations are.
Right.
Will you be clarifying that? Will you be obtaining that clarification?
Well, part of this is going to be assigning these tasks to the different committees.
Yeah.
Do we need to do that right now? Or do we need to think about it? And
I would say think about it and then
some of them are pretty obvious. The historic preservation
Right.
method would go to design.
Right. Right,
Active board committees organization.
correct.
yeah, my idea was that in August we'd be able to say, well, who's assigned to what.
Maybe by next meeting.
Yeah.
I like that.
When is the next National Main Street Conference? Do you know?
March,
Do you know where it's at?
Seattle.
Holy macaroni.
I'm not gonna drive there.
Give me some Starbucks.
That place is always crowded.
Yeah.
By the fish market.
Yeah.
Famous
And
fish market.
make sure you take a raincoat.
That's why they named their coffee.
Weather
place.
changes every
Yeah,
5
So that's
minutes.
right.
Yeah, that's,
That's where the road is.
yeah.
So anyone who's not gone to a National Main Street Conference yet should, you should consider that too.
I'd love to know.
All right, so anything else on these? Or review these, questions? If you have questions on this as you review it, send it to
I can do it.
Matt. And then the organization committee can meet between now and our next meeting and try and further this.
Yeah. So we can have something solid to sign for
Probably not
August.
as many no's on next year's.
Right. Or at least, yeah, no no's and there's a lot of yes buts.
Have no no's and a lot less butts.
There you go.
Matt, would you do me a favor of, I've got a little idiosyncrasy about needing pages that are
Yeah.
numbered. So when you're discussing, let's say page 1 of 6 or page 3 of 6,
Yeah.
et cetera, at the top.
Yeah.
You
See
should
what
be
it is.
right underneath me.
And I can also put
That's
some lines
true.
in there. I just realized when I'm not on my computer with lines.
Yeah, there's a couple little
Yeah.
things there.
I put you in there.
Thank you. That's well
And
done.
I am right now.
It looks good, but we did a nice job. Thank you.
It's not easy.
I know.
I like this.
So as you recall, from previous meeting, last meeting actually, I think, we introduced the project brief as a planning tool for us moving forward. I started filling out the other ones that we have removed from the agenda, and Eats in the Streets really was our first one. These are hard. These are not easy. But it's a good hard, because it's, we should be thinking through things before we, before we get too far along the process. And this really causes us to do it, so I appreciate
And it makes
you
you,
taking time to take a crack at this, and we will continue to get better with this.
it makes you think of things that like
Yeah.
you didn't originally think of, or
If you have time to do
consider
it,
other things.
yes. So anyways, Courtney, tell us where we are.
So we have kind of paired up with Ortonville Machine Rocks, which is a group that Judy leads. This is Judy. I know we've all met her before, but she came to me with a great idea, and many other communities have done so, to place you've seen the painted rocks around town, to have a local centralized place in town where a garden, if you will, where these rocks can be found. People can come and sit and spend time in the area, take a rock, maybe if they need a little inspiration or kind words or healing or whatever. So she came to me with this idea, and I said, let's do it. And so Judy has graciously taken up the charge, since I've been a little busy with other things as of late, but she has been working very hard to move forward with this, and hopes to have it in before Septemberfest.
Yes.
We've been waylaid a little bit because of needing to go before council for approval, for placement, things like that. We had to have to wait for the meeting, but that being said, do you guys have any questions on this? I know it just kind of got put in front of me here.
Do the rocks have a maximum size? Are they
No.
all little?
They're
Are
just
they all little, or are they?
Yeah.
They're
bag,
usually little,
yeah.
I mean, you can use any size you want, but normally it's just like maybe
Yeah.
a small rock.
Yeah,
You
the
can
ones
use
I've seen
tiny
are like
rocks. Yeah.
1 or 2 inches. But if I have a boulder that I want to do that.
Right, well, we've actually talked about having, and Judy, correct me if I'm wrong, but having some of the businesses in the DDA district be able to purchase a larger rock and have either them paint it, or have somebody like talented like Judy paint it for them with their business name on it for just like $25, and then they would be placed in the middle of the garden area. These things are visited by, and Judy can tell you more on that, but they're visited by people from all over the state.
Do we have a location?
Crossman Park. If you're standing in the alleyway facing the park, the closest right-hand corner, so behind Hamilton's. It's a higher.
Have you given consideration to any other locations?
We've talked about a few other, I did talk to the DPW, who was very supportive of the idea and the location. We obviously want to make sure it's in the DDA district. The location is nice because Judy's partner happens to be Lisa Painter. Partner in the project happens to be Lisa Painter, who owns It's the Little Things, who is right there and able to.
The alternate location that jumps out at me would be the grassy area next to the fire department. I think you got more exposure there.
I like that.
On the corner of South and Church?
Yeah.
That's
And that's
village
all that,
property.
village property and all that is I believe where they have their
That's a
septic
possibility too.
field. So it could be used, it depends on how extensive it is. But that's just an alternative, just a suggestion.
Do you have a drawing?
I have a drawing, but I haven't, Lisa said she was gonna try to replicate it, but I've been like really busy this weekend,
Yeah.
so it's just like a handmade.
So we're looking at, having a bench and a little, for the rocks, which would be, enclosed with,
Railroad ties.
thank you. Maybe some bird houses, just a nice little area you can sit and enjoy the rocks and the, you know, quiet, so to speak.
It's a cool idea.
And Judy knows
Kids
more,
love
but,
Whatever happened with the birdhouses that the Girl Scouts
The,
are putting across the park?
she has visited several in the state,
Birdhouses that the Girl Scouts.
The scouts,
And they are-
scouts are gonna do that.
very popular in the rocking community.
Fell apart.
And they're all over the country. There's rock gardens and that just dedicated solely to the Kindness Rocks project.
The idea is kind of balloon too, in my subdivision, the kids were hiding rocks everywhere. So my daughters were going around finding these rocks and they're painted really
Yeah.
nice.
There was one outside the village offices a couple of weeks ago that was painted like a pickle.
Oh, yeah.
It was like pretty cool. But like I said, I did talk to Bob, and Bob is very supportive of the idea. Immediately said, let me know what you need, what can we do to help. So we do have that, and then our next, like I said, our next step is to go to the village council on Monday and seek their approval for placement so that Judy and her team can get it built, with, obviously with DDA backing.
The brief is not brief, it's thorough, and I think that is fantastic. I appreciate that very
Back,
much.
Judy.
Thank you.
Do you have a cost estimate, you think? for it?
We're not exactly sure because Lisa said she's gonna donate a bench.
Oh, wow.
And then Courtney said her mom could paint signs. And the DPW said that they would help with anything that we need.
Sounds minimal.
Cost incurred, we may be looking at a couple railroad ties, which we may know somebody who can help us with that. Getting our hands on some railroad ties there.
Is
Is that a nudge nudge?
But, you know, worst case scenario, we're looking at some very minor hardware, some railroad ties, a couple bird houses if necessary, but we're looking into some other options like, the Brandon Woodworkers, hopefully, maybe they, you know,
Boy Scouts or
the Boy
something.
Scouts might be interested in bird houses, things like that, so,
Excellent.
I don't anticipate very much cost incurred, and like I said, we had talked about, selling some larger rocks to the businesses for, sponsorship, which would help obviously kind of defer some cost if they were incurred.
Great plan. Love it.
I love it.
What do you guys think about the location then? I'd like to have a location for sure set before we go visit the village council.
Well, I was just
On
thinking,
Monday.
either of you two, would it be better for us to come with one or two locations with a preferred?
Probably two of the preferred.
That's a good idea.
Is the purpose of this is to be kind of meditative,
Yes.
Yeah,
so would the visibility aspect, would that be too visible, or would you prefer something that's a little quieter?
I don't know. I really haven't thought about it, but I thought the park was a nice place because it's summertime and a lot of people go there go to the park and it's quiet there and you can relax there. But if you want to move it someplace else, I'm all for it.
I mean, potentially you got the grounds of the old mill as well.
I had thought
We
we
had
thought
talked
about
about
that.
multiple,
Yeah, so.
it
you know,
expanding into multiple locations, or whether it
Multiple
remain,
locations would be cool.
whether it remain exactly the same or
Or you could say that this is
evolve somehow.
the first of potentially several locations.
Like that too. Maybe small ones or, fancy
That would
ones.
be awesome.
Have the one main one.
The idea is not necessarily to have them all in one location, right? Put them all over?
The rock garden itself is, the intent, and correct me if I'm wrong, Judy, is to have them, sorry, you're all right, is to have a central location for a large amount of rocks that can be taken. You can leave them there as words. The Kindness Rocks project is exactly that. It's all about
You
kindness.
can Google it, it's huge.
And, right, and it's, the intent of the garden is to have a central location for a large amount of them, so that people can come and meditate, take, leave, just get encouragement.
I like the old mill and I like starting the park to see if how well it takes hold. That's my opinion.
And to be honest, I like the idea of creating some more push to Crossman. I
Yeah,
think it's underutilized.
yeah, that's good.
And I think-
That's a great point.
And I think to build on that, to push people towards Crossman, pushes them more into the heart of downtown. While the corner, which I had not even thought of, is I think a great idea, it's a little less in the heart of downtown. It's a place where people can stop and continue on without ever visiting.
Brenda would love to have it there.
I know she would. She really would, and maybe we look at that as a down the road kind of a stop, you know.
Right on the corner.
Little
I love
hubs,
that.
little hubs.
Yeah.
I love that.
Right next to the fire department
So
parking lot.
are we
And
looking at then just kind of pushing
Oh,
for
okay.
Crossman and
church inside.
hoping for the best?
All right.
I like the sound of the fire hall, but I like the sound of the park by a lot better now that we're doing jobs. Some of the parks out there. The park needs to be used more.
And with the garden meeting there, people are gonna go to pick up rocks, they'll find out that they're there, and then maybe they'll hide them, and then they'll come back. So I think it's gonna be a back and forth thing.
And I like the goal to engage the merchants and to create a sponsorship opportunity for local businesses.
Good.
Okay,
Those two
so we'll
things.
go ask council for permission on Monday. Can we make sure that gets on there, please? Thank you.
Yep.
And then we'll move forward with a sponsorship form as well for the merchants to get in on it.
Thank you very much. Nice job.
Also, there's a display at the library, if you go in Brandon Township Library. I didn't make it, but it's got the whole Kindness Rock project. I gave him some signs to put in there, but there's painted rocks and everything if you need to get a glance over things.
Cool. Thank you.
Oh, the other thing is too, a lot of people feel uncomfortable actually painting rocks. So this is a great way for them to get involved without having to paint their own rocks.
Real quick.
Okay.
Just,
no,
it's just informational.
Okay. So we have some additional business to come before the board.
I just wanted you to be aware, we did survey the downtown businesses.
Okay. Is this the same?
Yes.
Oh, got it. I thought it was a
That's
whole
the
packet.
We have one more.
It's coming.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We're good.
We surveyed the downtown businesses as it relates to eats in the streets. So the number who were surveyed was much smaller. But essentially you can see what we asked them in a very brief survey, and as of Thursday last week, are the responses that we have received. You'll notice that with the exception of some minor disruption, and these are business owners.
Oh, you did ask the business owner,
These are business owners only.
because Papa Bella gave me an earful.
Jesus.
I said, there's either too much business and not enough business. I mean, the guy,
He's
he's never a happy camper.
He's not.
And I would say an hour-long wait.
I said, I'm sorry we had too many people in town.
Right. So the response,
Just needs a hug.
was
Yeah, he needs a hug.
and to that point, there are plenty of things that we brainstormed since the event as to how we can provide additional opportunities for our businesses. But for the most part, the answer to the question, would you like to see more events like this in the future? The answer was yes. I just wanted you to see that and be aware. The only other item I have is what I think is, unless something comes up and gets me, this is, well, it's not necessarily DDA. It is Friends of Amos. It is our revenue and expenses for the fireworks.
You don't have our donation boxes included.
Correct.
You haven't got to accounting all the pennies?
No, have not yet.
What were you doing while I was on vacation?
When are we gonna have a FOA board meeting?
We need to.
Okay.
Maybe we can do one after our next board meeting.
The reason why I ask is that I'm looking at the June 5th approved minutes from the Historical Society that was forwarded to me by a council member, and it's got a very good and concise definition of a 501c3.
Oh.
This paragraph right here, I don't know if you've seen this, but it's very explanatory and it's very brief. Did you see this, Bill? From the Historical, Karen Slevas.
Yeah.
And it's very good.
Can I see it?
Yeah, it talks about what you can and can't do, and who's responsible for what, which was a lot of the questions that council had the last time that Matt was there. Council had some structural and business questions that were difficult to answer, and it's a very good explanation that council should receive. I'll make sure the council does get that, especially since Ms. Sleva was the one that gave it to me to begin with.
Very good.
But it is a Friends of Amos issue, but it's also speaks to the whole concept of 501c3 charitable
Very nice.
organizations.
So do we have a balance in our, for the fireworks? I don't know what we actually spent on fireworks.
It's right there. Total expenses right at the bottom.
13,540.
And this number will change because, like I pointed out, we haven't counted the donation boxes. There should be another $70 sponsorship check for the balloon sponsor. We need to talk about why that number's off. And, but then also, the musician that we had on site was amazing. At one point, their canopy blew over and hit the saxophone artist that was playing, and he just kept playing. Like nothing ever happened.
Did you know what happened?
I mean, yeah. It was, I don't know, they were just very well loved by the crowd, and it was, when I booked them, they had said that they would really love just to get paid for like $50, but that they would do it for tips. And after all was said and done, with the turnout we had, some different fundraising things that we had, we did an EV electrical inspector, which we charged the trucks for, things like that. I had mentioned to Matt that I'd really like to get her a check for the $50 that we had not fully discussed, because I did ask her to do it for tips, but I'd really like to get her that $50. They were, I can't say enough about the musicians. They were phenomenal. Everybody loved them. They were out there dancing,
That's very cool.
having a good time. And also, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, the funds, I don't see the funds from the trucks.
So, yeah, it's in there, $630. Can you tell us how that you raised that?
I charged them $75 each.
Nice.
So it would come, that would
gonna
come out
happen.
of that, the $50 would come out of that,
That's awesome.
that portion of things, but.
I saw a couple of those
I think
trucks
that's
Which that
the other
number
day
should
come
go
up
up
in
too.
15. I've never seen them before. I saw 2 or 3 of those trucks that we had going up, so maybe they got some more business north of here that would make it easier for them to stop in,
Yeah,
so.
so there will be more incoming on here as well. So,
I have a question. What kind of feedback have you been receiving from council or any staff people with respect to clarification on the funding, the annual budget that was presented to council? Anything?
There was.
Are they happy? Are they, is Mr. Eshman more comfortable with what he sees on paper? For example?
We responded to a handful of questions after the council meeting. They were initiated by Karen Sleva and Dan Eshman.
Right.
We responded to those. I included this group on those emails. I did receive a response from Karen afterwards thanking me for the information. Have not heard from Dan Eshman. I do know he was away,
Okay.
so, but have not heard back.
Also,
And have not heard anything further.
unrelated, council is considering adding stop signs, a couple strategic locations in the village. Church and Ball Street, and Mill and James Street, to slow traffic down. And we've gotten some feedback from, I believe Bill said, well, you know, that might deter people from coming into the village. So, you know, there's a little bit of a tug of war here. Do you want people to be slowed down? Because right now the detour is coming through the village and the people are
Sure.
flying down Mill Street,
And it's
flying
backed
out,
up.
they're going like crazy.
Are they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this morning.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously that's a short-term thing, but
Sure,
the long-term is to slow people down.
sure.
So if they're actually going 25, so our police department can't be there 24/7. But a stop sign will effectively slow people.
Well, and as part of that master planning too, we can look at other things
Yeah,
too.
so I just wanted you to be aware of that,
Traffic.
that this is something that, any thoughts you might have for council, we appreciate it. I have to leave this. Sorry.
I do have one comment as far as the requests to the DDA for information. I would like to have those come through the proper chain of command through me as opposed directly to our executive director. So I can make sure that everyone has my email address in case they don't.
Yeah, that was one thing on the review I noticed, non-staff dealing with, having it be, other than paid staff, having the committee and the board take care of a lot of responsibilities so that everything doesn't have to flow through that.
Well, it's just following that proper chain of command too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it'd be like, I don't know, one of my frontline employees going directly to a senior VP or something or whatever, and I'd rather have that come through proper channels.
Okay.
All right. Any other additional business? All right, then let's call the meeting to adjournment. At 8:42.
Checking on stuff.